Alright, what is going on guys? It's Tazz here, and welcome back to the channel. Now today we've got for you guys is my season overview as well as finale review for season 1 of Black Lightning. And now before I get into anything, I just want to say if I do sound a bit weird in this video, I have been sick for the past few days, so sorry about that. And also there will be spoilers in this video for the entirety of Black Lightning season 1. But with that out of the way, let's continue. This year, we saw the beginning of a brand new DC TV show on the CW in the form of Black Lightning, and at the moment, this show is not connected to any of the other DC TV shows, but I think it works pretty well not connected to any of them, but I'm pretty sure we will see a crossover at some point next season, most likely. But Black Lightning was a short season this season. It only had 13 episodes, which is much shorter than even Legends, which has 18 episodes, and compared to all of the other shows that have 23, it is pretty short compared to them, but for Black Lightning this season, I think the 13 episodes actually worked really well. Throughout all of the episodes, I think it kept a very nice pace, and I felt like the story was kind of flowed very well from episode to episode, so 13 episodes worked pretty well for Black Lightning in the first season, but I have a feeling that they're most likely going to up that to at least Legends level 18, most likely next season, maybe 23, but I feel like that might be too many, so I hope they go with maybe 18 or like 16 or something like that, make it closer to Legends, but make it not super long so they don't have to have quite as many filler episodes as the other shows, because like I said, I think a short season worked very well for Black Lightning this season. But season 1 of Black Lightning followed Jefferson Pierce, the principal of Garfield High School, as well as Black Lightning, so I thought it was pretty cool to have us have Black Lightning be somebody that had already been existing in the universe, was already not pre-established but pre-existing. He had been Black Lightning for a while, and then he went into retirement, and then he had to come back out of retirement when the show started up, and he sort of got back into his whole superhero thing, and he realized how much he missed it and how much he loved sort of being the protector of Freeland and being that hero that he is, not only as the principal of Garfield High School, but also out on the streets at night as the vigilante Black Lightning. But Jefferson wasn't alone out on the streets at night. He had help from his version of like an Alfred Lucius type of character in the form of Peter Gamby, who was definitely one of my favorite, if not my favorite, kind of side characters of the season. I always love the kind of Alfred type of character that they have. I mean, I love Alfred on Gotham, and I think Gamby for Black Lightning is kind of like that Alfred type of person for him, because he was kind of like, he took up the mantle as his, like, or not the mantle, but you know what I mean, is once Jefferson's father died, he kind of became a father figure to Jefferson and everything, so, you know, Gamby's pretty much Black Lightning's Alfred, which I thought was very nice, and I really love Gamby on the show, and he was great. He had some great storylines this season as well, and also helping out Black Lightning throughout the season, we had sort of the build-up of the Black Lightning family. The sort of family aspect of the show is definitely a huge thing. The Pierce family is front and center of pretty much every episode, so I thought that that was nice to have sort of this great sort of family dynamic that turned into like a family superhero dynamic as the show progressed, and I thought that that was great, because one thing that some shows maybe don't do quite as well is characters don't communicate quite a lot in really any of the shows, and people kind of just get in trouble when they lie to their friends and family, and I thought that that was great that on Black Lightning, while some people were keeping secrets at first, by the end of the season, everything was all out there in the open. Everybody's working together as a family, and they're all just one big superhero Black Lightning family, which I thought was pretty great as well. And back on the whole topic of the family dynamic in the show, I thought it was great how they had Anissa's powers kind of evolve and develop towards the beginning of the season, and it sort of evolved into her eventually becoming her own superhero, and then her confrontation with Black Lightning at first was really cool to see, and I loved eventually once she was able to get her suit made by Gamby and everything, and go out there in the field with Black Lightning, and go out there with her dad and just sort of be Thunder and everything. I thought that that was great, and then kind of in the background after Anissa had kind of become Thunder and everything, then we sort of had more development with Jennifer and her powers, and she sort of didn't really want them at first, but then by the end of the season she kind of realized, you know, that her powers are very useful and they came in handy quite a bit, and I'll get to that when I talk more about the finale later on in the video. But I thought it was great. We had Jennifer's powers develop sort of more towards the end of the season, and she's very powerful, and I can't wait to see more with what they do with her powers, as well as just this sort of whole family dynamic, like I said, with everybody having powers and stuff, except for their mom, but she's also very important to the whole family team dynamic as well. But what is a good superhero TV show without some great villains? We had the villain of the season, which we thought was originally going to be the main big bad of this season, but he will most likely turn into the big bad of season 2, and that was Tobias Whale. I thought that he had a pretty great storyline this season, and I can't wait to see more of him in the next season. But with Tobias, we also had his kind of bodyguard henchwoman assassin in the form of Cyanide, who I thought was also pretty cool. And then towards the beginning of the season, we had Lala for the first couple of episodes until he was eventually killed by Tobias Whale himself, but then he was brought back as kind of this show's version of the Tattooed Man, and that name was even dropped in the finale as being his name, the Tattooed Man. So I thought that was pretty cool what they did with the Lala character. But towards the beginning of the season as well, we had another villain in the form of Lady Eve, who I thought was actually going to be a much bigger character on the show than she ended up being. She was pretty prominent in the show for the few episodes that she was actually in, and she seemed like she was pretty powerful and everything, and I thought that they were kind of maybe setting her up to possibly be the big bad of season 2, because I thought they were going to use, Tobias as the main villain for this season. They would defeat him at the end of the season, and then maybe Lady Eve would take over and be the season 2 big bad. But no, they totally just killed her off, and I thought that was pretty crazy, and it showed that this show sort of just holds nothing back, and they'll just kill off anybody. So they'll just kill people and they don't care, and I think that that's great because it gives the show pretty high stakes, is because there's this character that you think is going to be a bigger character, and then they just sort of just throw away all your expectations and then just kill the character, and it's like, oh, well, they're dead now, so I guess that's whatever I thought was going to happen is not going to happen. But yeah, not that I'm mad about that, I'm just saying I think that was pretty cool how they did that, is they make you think one thing and then they completely take it away and make you think something else. So I thought that was pretty cool. But more towards the end of the season, we were introduced to the true big bad of the season in the form of the ASA agent Proctor, who was kind of like the leader of a rogue sector of the ASA that Gambi used to work for, that was doing kind of like experiments and stuff on people and metahumans and stuff in Freeland. So he was the big bad of the season, and I thought he was a pretty decent big bad, but I'm kind of glad actually that Tobias maybe wasn't the big bad of the season, so they will give him some more story and more episodes to develop in season 2. But I did think that Proctor was a pretty decent villain for season 1 of Black Lightning. But now let's transition into talking about the finale. This season's finale picked up in the sort of cabin in the woods where the Pierce family went to go hide at the end of the most recent episode, or at the end of the last episode before this one, after the whole big sort of showdown between Black Lightning and Tobias, as well as the fight between Thunder and Cyanide, which both of those fights in the previous episode were very cool. I thought that was a great showdown, and a nice little showdown between Tobias and Black Lightning. Like I said, even though Tobias wasn't the main villain of the season, that was the main showdown that I was looking forward to throughout pretty much the entirety of the season. But when the episode picks up, Jefferson is still knocked out from sort of being kind of killed, I guess, in a way, by Painkiller earlier on from the most recent episode, or from the last episode. Like I said, in that fight against Tobias, his heart was stopped, but then he was saved by Jennifer using her powers to kind of restart his heart and jumpstart him and give him kind of like a defibrillator kind of shock and everything, which was very cool. And I think her powers developing are some of the coolest powers on the show. She can do quite a lot of things, and they're very similar to Black Lightning's powers, but I think they said it at some point, while Black Lightning, or Jefferson's powers, is he kind of like absorbs energy and refocuses it and redirects it. Jennifer just kind of like creates energy. She is energy. I think from the comics, I think Lightning is just like, she's kind of pure energy in a way, kind of like that, kind of like Electro or something like that. She is just energy, and she can use different ways to kind of redirect that energy and give it off. So if that's by, jump starting somebody's heart or refilling Black Lightning's powers like she did later on in the episode, she could do quite a lot. And like I said, I'm looking forward to see her character develop more and her fighting alongside her dad and sister next season. But while Jefferson was knocked out in the first bit of this episode, we did get some more backstory on Tobias and Cyanide, as well as a little bit of insight into Painkiller as well from Gambi, hitting us with that exposition and everything, so that was pretty cool to learn some more backstory on our villains. And speaking of the villains, we did have a pretty cool villain storyline going on in the episode as well, because we did have a transition over to Team Evil. That's what I'm just going to call them, Tobias, Cyanide, and Painkiller. I'll just call them Team Evil, but they were over in Tobias's headquarters, and they called up Lala, and that's when they gave him sort of the tattooed man name. And I think giving us kind of like these little deep cuts from the comics and having sort of these obscure characters in these shows is always very cool to see. But with Lala getting the name of Tattooed Man, Tobias sent him into the ASA with a bomb, and he blew it up and everything. So we're led to believe that Lala's possibly dead, but I don't think that they would just bring him back from the dead. Tobias wouldn't spend all that money just to waste it, and they wouldn't give him the Tattooed Man name just to kill him off in 5 minutes. So I think we will see him again at some point next season. I think Lala will return because, you know, there's something with whatever Tobias did to him. I'm sure he'll be able to bring him back if he's dead, but I don't think he's dead. I think he'll come back. What do you guys think about that? But while this was all going on and Black Lightning was still knocked out of the episode, we did get some cool flashbacks from Jefferson as a kid back to, like, what was it, 30 years ago? They gave us the nice black and white filter just so we know that it is a flashback. And we got some flashbacks to Jefferson with his dad and everything, and sort of the events leading up to where we had the flashback earlier on in the season where Jefferson was talking about why his dad was killed and everything. And I thought that these scenes were definitely pretty emotional, and it gave us some more nice backstory and stuff on Black Lightning and on Jefferson as a kid and how his powers developed and everything, and his interactions and stuff with his father I thought were very cool, as well as when we had sort of the adult version of Jefferson going and talking to his dad in kind of this like dream state as well. I thought that was very nice to have in the episode as well. But these flashbacks were a small part of the episode, but I did think that they were pretty cool. But eventually Jefferson did wake up, and then that's when the cool stuff of the episode started happening, because the ASA started surrounding the cabin that the Pierce family and everything they were hiding in, and then they sort of had to gear up to defend the house and everything. But Jefferson, he was suiting up and everything, but he was like, hey, my powers don't work, what am I gonna do? And then we got a very cool scene with Jennifer going over and giving him like this power hug or whatever, that she sort of charged him up like a battery. She had to like jumpstart him, and I thought that was very cool, and that's something that she's definitely going to be very useful to do, is, you know, just give a little jumpstart whenever anybody needs it. But once Jefferson got his powers back, we had a very awesome fight scene, and one of my favorite scenes of the episode, we had everybody kind of defending the cabin in the woods. We had Gambi getting the guns out, we even had Lynn with a shotgun and everything, and I thought that was pretty cool to see. And we had Black Lightning and Thunder going outside and taking out the ASA guys outside, and then we had the inside team kind of defending from the inside. We had Gambi and Lynn in there, as well as we had Jennifer actually shoot some lightning out of her hands, sort of going like Emperor Palpatine unlimited power on everybody, which I thought was very cool as well. And like I said, this was probably one of my favorite scenes of the episode. But once everybody escaped and we all got out of the cabin in the woods, then the Pierce family went to go find Proctor, and at the sort of like ASA kind of like, what was it, like the bunker kind of like lab area. So they all confronted Proctor and everything. They surrounded him, and we had a pretty cool scene there. We had Jennifer like pick him up with the like a lightning lasso or whatever, and like slam him on the ground, and then he was like, oh yeah, what are you guys gonna do? You gonna kill me? And then Gambi was like, yeah, that's exactly what we're gonna do. And Gambi just kills him and puts him down, and that was definitely a fitting end to that character. Gambi was great. He's like, he just doesn't care. Gambi's like, yep, I'll just shoot him, that's fine. Whoever says heroes don't kill people. But after that, we had a very nice wrap up to the season. We transitioned to kind of like a news report and everything, and we had kind of like an address by Henderson and everything, saying that, oh yeah, well, we don't condone vigilantes and everything. We owe Black Lightning and Thunder and everybody else a debt of gratitude and stuff like that. So that was great. We have all of the heroes in the city being praised and stuff by the citizens and the police and everything. So that was great. And then we had a nice nice little kind of like nod back to the first episode. We had Jefferson and Anissa and Jennifer all running out on the street going for like a morning jog or whatever, which is very reminiscent to the first episode of the season where they did the same thing, and then they go over onto the porch and it's just one big happy Pierce family. And I think that's great, and like I said earlier, the family aspect of the show is definitely one of the strongest parts of the show, and I really enjoy it. But after the nice happy ending, we go back to the evil headquarters of Tobias Whale and we get our cliffhanger for the season. We have Cyanide walk in and give him a bag of thumbs. We get Proctor's thumbs and everything, and he has the case that they stole from the ASA when they went in there and stormed it earlier on in the episode, and he opens up the case with Proctor's thumbs, and all we see is like a green glowing light coming from the box, and I think that was pretty funny, a green light, if you will, coming from the box and everything. So what's in the case? What is Tobias seeing? Is that like some kryptonite or something? Probably not. Is it some souped up green light? Maybe he's like got some green light that can like help him, control people or whatever. I'm not 100% sure what's in the box, but what do you guys think is in the box? What is in this sort of case that Tobias has? I want to know your thoughts on that down in the comments. But overall, guys, I really did enjoy Black Lightning Season 1. I thought it was a great first season of a show. Like I said, the 13 episodes worked very well. I thought the momentum carrying over from episodes to episode was very great, and I thought that just overall this season was a very fun watch, and I definitely suggest, if you guys haven't seen it already, I definitely suggest you guys go watch it. It will be on Netflix, I think, next week, because all of these shows on the CW, they do just come onto Netflix a week after their finales air. So if you guys haven't seen the entire thing, definitely go watch it. But yeah, overall, like I said, really love Black Lightning Season 1. Can't wait to see what they do in Season 2. And other than that, guys, I want to know your thoughts on this down in the comments below. But until next time, guys, it's been Tazz, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
We pray at night for the helpless, hoping you get us through breakfast, wishing somebody come save us. Black Lightning's back, come to shock the haters. Last night I saw a superhero, he was black. He said this is for the street, Black Lightning's back.